That scared me. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting for the Planning Commission. It is 5:31. Today is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. The land that we know as Sequim was once inhabited solely by First Peoples known as the S'Klallam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Lower Elwha S'Klallam, Jamestown S'Klallam, and Port Gamble S'Klallam. We serve as stewards of the land within the city of Sequim with the same care and consideration the S'Klallam tribes has and continues to provide. This acknowledgement is a respect to the S'Klallam people and their history. The Planning Commission serves as an advisory body to the City Council. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to provide guidance and direction for Sequim's future growth through continued review and improvement to Sequim's comprehensive plan, zoning code, shoreline management, environmental protection, and related land use documents. The Planning Commission will have all of the powers and perform each and all of the duties specified by Chapter 35A.63 RCW as amended and set forth or amended by ordinance. Roll call. Emily, will you please do roll call for us?
Absolutely. Commissioner Carter.
Present.
Commissioner Kuntz.
Present.
Commissioner Cummings.
Here.
Commissioner Fain.
Present.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Present.
Commissioner Lefevre.
Here.
Commissioner Mahalik.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for justice for all. Thank you. Approval of minutes for our last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? I know that Commissioner Mahalik had mentioned that she had couldn't get the link open. So has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Just a correction. It's the email that goes
Okay.
out. But yes, I did read the minutes.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
okay,
Second.
okay. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, minutes stand approved as written. Thank you for the correction on that. Okay, public comment. General public comment will be heard at this time. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. For those wishing to speak on the public hearing topics, please hold those comments until that portion of the meeting. We are having a public hearing under new business, but this right now is for any public comment for anything other than the public hearing, which is the proposed code amendments. So I don't see anybody in the room that would like to make public comment. Emily, is there anybody online?
There's no one online.
Okay. At this time, I will close the public comment section of the meeting. And seeing that there is no general business, we'll move on to new business, which is the proposed code amendments pertaining changes in RCW 36 local project review. And we will be having a public hearing on that. Let me pull up the verbiage. Just waiting for my Microsoft Teams to open. And does the city have a presentation on this?
The city does not have a
Okay.
visual presentation.
Okay. Okay. You might have to email that to me, Emily.
I can start since I go first anyway, and then
Okay. And well, yeah, you go ahead and then, okay, it's right here in the chat. So I'm
You got
good.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, soon the chair will open the public hearing. If you would like to provide public comment, those attending in person should sign in on the public hearing sign-in sheet. For those attending on Zoom, you will press the raise your hand icon, or if on the phone, press *9 when the chair asks for comment. When the last 4 digits of your phone number are called out at the appropriate time, unmute your audio by dialing *6, then state your name and city or county of residence. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please avoid comments not related to the subject of the hearing. Participants will be disconnected after speaking. Again, please raise your hand or press *9.
Thank you, Emily. The subject of this public hearing is Senate Bill 5290 requirements. The public hearing is now open. Does the DCD director or staff have any testimony to present?
Thank you, Chair. Director Zamel here of Community and Economic Development for the City of Sequim. Tonight we have our public hearing pertaining to state law required changes in permit processing and timeline as found under the materials this evening known under Senate Bill 5290. Staff's recommendation is that the city move forward with adopting the regulations within state law prescriptively as defined, and are opening and requesting any public comment on that at this time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission to staff? Yes. Dennis.
First of all, a comment. I appreciate your effort in getting this out before the actual deadline at the end of the year. I know a lot of communities will not hit that deadline. The question I have is procedural. Will you have to request an expedited review through Commerce on the development regulations review, or is the 60 days window still in effect?
If we are able to get the draft language into Commerce by the end of this month, we should be okay, as our 60 days would be effective. We are likely able to receive an expedited 10-day review because we are prescriptively meeting the standards in state law.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner LaFever. Are there any other questions or comments? Commissioner Carter?
Thank you. So maybe I misunderstand, but these regulations we have in front of us are existing regulations.
Are you referring to the RCWs that were provided?
18.88, 20.01, not the RCW.
Correct. Those that is existing Sequim Municipal Code.
Okay, and then at the next meeting, we will have red line changes to review? Or is that something you're just doing and submitting?
We will, based upon staff workload, we hope to have red lines for you at your next meeting on November 5th.
Okay. So would you prefer not to have any comment on these existing ordinances?
If they're pertaining to permit processing or timeline, any input specific to the requirements under 5290 would be very helpful for me. If there are other comments or suggestions, we can do that later in the agenda.
Okay, it's not specific to 5290. It's specific to the existing ordinances.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for staff from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Frayne.
Is the general contracting community aware of the changes, or is there an easy place they can see that this is in front of the city to update?
The notice for public hearing has been advertised and placed on the city's website. The state law and legislature did advertise this well, as were provided. The Washington State Department of Commerce worked closely with large groups and entities as they were developing this legislation for proposals. So I cannot speak because I am not of those groups, but my assumption is that they have been informed through either their master builders associations, their architectural professional associations, and other professional entities.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for staff from the commission at this time? Okay. We'll now move on to public comment. This is a public hearing. All audience members wishing to make comment will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. When it is your time to speak, please give your name, address, and whether you reside within the Sequim city limits. Please avoid repetitious comments, personal attacks, or comments not related to the subject before the commission. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak? I don't see anyone in the room. Emily, is there anybody online?
No one online.
Okay. I will now close the public comment portion of the hearing. Thank you to everyone that provided public comment, although there was no one. Is there any commission discussion? Is this the time that you wanted Commissioner Carter to elaborate, or do you want it to be during like the director's report or good of the order?
As a volunteer, he is able to elaborate whenever he would like, being a member of the Planning Commission.
That, I mean, be careful what you wish for.
Okay, it is 20 to 6. This is something I've brought up before, and I'm going to bring it up since you haven't heard it from me. But it has to do with notification. And it's almost all in chapter 20.01. So 20.01.090, where it's administrative approvals, there's two things in that section. One of them is a public notice of application for a project permit by ensuring posting of the property. And I hope it doesn't mean the little 8.5 by 11 on a stick posting of a property. Is that what that means? Do you know?
Could you specifically cite? I'm in 20.01.090.
It's B, and
okay.
it's near the end there. It's in the third sentence in the middle.
And so then we would need to go to 140 to understand the contents and the requirements of the posting.
Right.
It does not appear that the notice board is identified as a required signage size.
Okay, any idea what's done? Because I know when it's posted for the county, it's these little 8.5 by 11s that are a foot off the ground, and everybody drives by them.
This is where I would actually ask Emily Kohler what the city signage requirements are for public posting.
I was just going to tease you. They have larger signs. Like if you drive by just before Walmart, there's that like blue and white sign you may have seen in that empty lot. They look similar to that.
Okay, that's great. The following point then is in C, where it mentions posting it at least 10 days before the close of the comment period. Does that seem like enough?
That's the additional posting. So just to remind you that we must send a notice of application to the properties around a project. We also have to send a notice of decision and their ability to appeal, and we post the site, and then also require So that C is an additional posting where the city may require the applicant be posted in conspicuous places visible on the site or in the vicinity of the action to remind people again of the comment period.
Okay, and so that posting is additional. So you're not on 140 right now then?
No, I'm sorry. I'm back on 90.
Okay, all right.
90C. Is
All
that
right,
what you
let me-
meant?
let me
Were you
move
on
on.
140?
Yeah, I'll
Were
move
you
on
on
to a different
140C?
one.
Okay.
20.01.190, notice of public hearing. This is the one you overheard our conversation on, and it's letter A under 2B.
One more time.
20.01.190.
190. Okay.
On 2B.
B2?
2B.
A2B. Okay.
Yeah,
The notice of public hearing for type B and type C1,
Right.
C2, and C3 must be mailed to the
Right.
applicant, the adjacent property owners, and any person who submits written comments. So those are parties of record.
okay. So all adjacent property owners.
Mm-hmm.
Adjacent means next to. But later on in that sentence, it says within 300 feet. So is it within 300 feet or adjacent to the proposal?
I'm really glad you asked this because as we get further into drafting code, these are components that are very important for the Planning Commission to understand. The power of the comma in that sentence is of high value. So it's all adjacent property owners, comma, including owners of manufactured homes, residential units. So that comma is adding to the requirement of the adjacency and including the owners of manufactured homes and condominiums within 300 feet of any portion of the subject property. So not only are we mailing the underlying landowner of those, we go above and beyond and mail the unit owners of condominiums and manufactured mobile home
Manufactured
parks.
homes, okay. But not necessarily single homes that are not adjacent.
That would fall into all adjacent property owners. And so the within 300 feet is everybody gets it, the condominium owners as well as the single family homeowners.
Okay, that's not how I read it, but I know that's your interpretation, so I'm going to have to trust that because adjacent to me is next to, adjoining. So if there's a third house over here, that's not adjacent. It's within 300 feet, but it's not adjacent.
So that within the 300 feet is the requirement.
Okay. Would you just consider at one point just deleting adjacent? Because that confuses me there. Under the note in parentheses, that's much clearer. There's no adjacency in the note. It just says must be given to owners of property located within 300 feet of the parcel. That's totally clear to me. But when you throw adjacent and within 300 feet, that to me is confusing. Maybe it's not to anybody else though. And then the last thing, I guess I'll make one last comment is 300 feet enough? Should we be talking feet or should we be talking neighbors? Should we be talking neighborhood rather than feet?
So the linear distance is a requirement under RCW. I don't know which one right now, so I would need to find that out from you. But
That would be the minimum requirement, correct?
the state's minimum requirement,
Right.
correct.
Okay.
I have seen it at 500 feet and or 1,000 feet and differing between the different permit types. whether if it's a land use comp plan amendment. I've seen it in other cities where they require 2,000 feet.
Okay.
So there is distinction because of the impact. A comprehensive plan map amendment would be a broader scale community request than a particular project in an allowed zone on an allowed use.
Okay. All right. Just welcome to my world, I guess.
It's an interesting place. Thank you for inviting me in.
Yeah. Okay. There was one more that is escaping me here. There was one more comment I had, but I will, if it comes to me, I'll say it later. Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
If I just could tack on another comment, I looked under the definition section. I think it's in Title 18. And adjacent basically backs up Commissioner Jeff. Issue of as far as adjacency is concerned. So, you know, if we take this up and look at it again, we want to look at the definition too.
Thank you, Commissioner LaFever. I would like to point out under definitions of 1808, for the purpose of this title, meaning Title 18, there's the definitions apply to that title. So we may want to look at, we do not have definitions under Title 20. So something else to know.
I just remembered my last comment, which is why I'm talking about expanded notification. Because when people come in here, or I hear them on the street, or they talk to me on the street, one of their simplistic things they say is, nobody ever told me about this, or I didn't know, or nobody told me about that. And when we just put the minimums that the state requires and don't examine them, are they the best use for our community and the neighborhoods? I think we're doing I think we could do better in terms of notification, a broader reach and more people, and maybe that'll help. I don't know. My pet peeve.
I appreciate you mentioning this. We are currently working on considering the customer experience and making updates to what we call in DCD client assistant memos, or the city calls them fact sheets at a broader scale, and being more transparent and more aware of processes, as every permit has a different flavor to some process, and trying to educate the community about what they can expect and providing clear graphs, clearer examples, clearer understandings. So that is something that the department is working on. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahalik, did you have a comment or a question?
I have a question. 20.01.100 B talks about staff report. It says at least 7 days before a public hearing for all types of procedures, the administrator shall prepare a staff report on the proposed development or action. It says they shall prepare a report. It doesn't say that it will be complete, nor does it say it'll be handed out. But I'm curious, are the staff reports available 7 days prior to our public hearings?
So staff reports can also be considered, and the way that the city has utilized the agenda planning has been that the commission packet and or a cover sheet agenda would provide some analysis for some things.
Mm-hmm.
For the hearing examiner, for those public notices, those staff reports are available 10 days in advance. And so there is where I see improvements could be making sure our agendas are out a little earlier for you when we're preparing for or having public hearings.
My curiosity, though, is that true? Is that line adhered to, that in your workflow, your staff report is generally prepared 7 days before?
Well, I would say it depends on the process. So for the hearing examiner decisions, they are. For items that are in front of city council or planning commission, as the agendas typically come out about 7 days to them, or I should say, sorry, it's about 5 days. They're not meeting that standard right now.
You might want to consider the verbiage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? No? Okay. Then at this time, I will close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed and we will move on to commission action. Are we ready for a motion? Let me get to that section so I can. Okay.
It's just public hearing tonight.
Okay.
So the
Right.
motion to close the hearing would be appropriate.
Okay. Somebody like to move to close the hearing, public hearing? Okay. Do we have a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Thank you. Public hearing is now closed.
Thank you. Staff will return November 5th with legislative markup.
Okay. I don't think it's necessary at this point to have, I know we had talked about having a special workshop if we needed to. If, so we'll plan on not having that, but if something changes, will you let us know?
Yeah, I believe that that is appropriate, as we are aware that these regulations are in effect January 1 regardless. I do not believe that the commission needs a special meeting date on Tuesday, October 29th anymore.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Then with that, I think we are ready for the director's report.
Thank you. So tonight I actually have some agenda items to add. And I apologize that I didn't amend the agenda prior to the meeting. I wanted to add the second bullet under director's report will be introduction of new staff. And the third item under the director's report will be the 2025 draft work program. So beginning with communications, I know that the commission has been approached due to your role as a volunteer. You guys have been approached and are quite often asked about processing of permits and how things are done. I do want to let you all know that if you ever receive an email that you believe is a public comment or questions about process, feel free to direct those to staff. And we're happy to help the people make sure that they are a party of record, make sure that they are informed of the process as well. Staff will be sharing with you kind of information or fact sheets that will educate you to be able to share. Here is where you can go in the city to find out where a process is for this particular type of permit. Here is where you want to sign up to get your, e-news, e-letters, and really help get more engagement and more connection to the communication and distribution that the city puts out so that we can inform them of their opportunity to comment and their opportunity to participate in the process. Do you guys have any questions about that? And has there ever been moments of either, I want to make sure that you're comfortable with the information I'm sharing with you and you feel comfortable and confident in responding to concerned citizens when they reach out to you.
Eileen?
Thank you for talking about this because this is kind of exciting. We got letters from the public, want to respond appropriately and everything. So, so does an email, just the whole process. And when an email comes into the city, does it slide past the clerk's office and comes to you, or goes directly to us as commission members? How does that?
So my assumption, I don't know the answer, Jeff. My assumption is that the concerned citizens are going to the elected and volunteer pages and directly emailing you from the Planning Commission page. We do not receive those or receive awareness of them unless you share them with us.
Okay.
Or you see that Emily, myself, or another staff member received them. Matt's really good at forwarding emails to me.
So if somebody says, I want to see the public records of conversations of email, is that part of what a citizen can get if,
So that would be a public records request through the city's website.
so how does that get to the clerk? You know, I guess that's,
Yeah.
the magic of the internet.
That's a great
I don't
fact
know.
sheet.
Basically, if somebody puts in a request for public record, whatever it is, it's assigned to the appropriate department representative.
Uh-huh.
With email searches, it's a little different. Like
Okay.
I don't get those, but the clerk and or the public records officer has the ability to do email searches based off of whatever they're looking for.
Do they go into our computers or
No, they
the sweep of the
there's
computers?
there's a server, right, of everybody's emails. So even if you delete an email, it's not gone forever. But they can go in and retrieve it
Okay.
using IT magic that I can't explain. So
Magic works for me. I don't get it either. So, and so it would be appropriate that if we get a oh, you found something?
Well, I was just going to say that on the City of Sequim's main page, www.sequimlaw.gov, on the very front of the very first page, you will find 5 different graphics: utility bill pay, facility rentals, employment, zoning, and then public records requests. And so you would ask or guide them to the front web page for filling out a public records request.
Just the magic part. I don't get it, but I don't have to fulfill those requests.
No, IT will search your records and or emails for the conversations.
Okay. And so would it be, would you like, as letters come in that you may not, sounds like you may not see some of these letters. And if they're directly sent to you, we don't see them.
Correct. And if they're about projects that would go to the hearing examiner, then it's not pertinent. They're communicating to the wrong decision-making body. And so we want to make sure that they get the information that they need to get to the right decision-making body.
And so, so what would be the protocol? What I did last week, I answered people that sent letters and sent copies to you guys. And
That would be the best. Say, I'm forwarding this to the appropriate people in the department, and they'll reach
Okay.
out. And I would say Emily and myself, and we have, we will, if there's a active comment period, we will document it in our comment matrix to record it. If not active comment period, we would offer to place them on an interested parties list.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you for asking. Any other questions regarding communication outside of the items on your agendas? Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot. There's a 4th bullet I need to add under director's report, you guys, and that's term limits. Okay, so next up, I want to introduce to you our newest planner at the City of Sequim. This is Ethan. He is joining us as an associate planner. You'll find him up on the 2nd floor, answering questions at the counter and helping us process our land use permits. Ethan, would you like to come up and introduce yourself to the commission?
She forgot to tell you that.
You get a half hour.
Check in public speaking.
Hi, Ethan Walker, Associate Planner. I'll try and keep it under 3 minutes. Like Lindsay said, I'm new Associate Planner. I'll be working primarily on land use applications. If you have any questions, feel free to come say hi. Most recently, I was working in Port Angeles as a housing administrator, and I'm interested in housing. So if you just want to talk about that, that's always something I'd be happy to chat about. Other than that, it's just nice to meet everyone and happy to be here.
Thank you. Okay, well, now it's time for our Q&A.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Masters from where?
He resides just down the street. He's a Sequimite.
Oh, okay.
You guys may see him at Safeway on a Friday night. You never know.
Okay.
Ethan, I have a question for you. Were you involved with any data gathering of VRBO, Airbnb with the Port Angeles stuff?
Yeah, I actually managed that project and worked directly with the third-party agency to get that data. So it is something I have experience with.
Excellent. You're my new favorite guy. Shooting guard or small forward?
Shooting guard.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, 2025 work program. Staff, I will be working with staff to identify the limits of and the requests to, let me start that one over. I'll be heading to council later this year to present to them a resolution for the Planning Commission's 2025 work program. As the commission is aware, the majority of the beginning of 2025 will be on policy development and all elements necessary for the major revision of our comp plan update. We have identified a few different areas in code that we do think need some revisions. And some of those that staff has identified, we wanted to briefly discuss with you. I know, and I have heard from Commissioner Carter that he is interested in looking at short-term rentals. I am aware that there is challenges in our landscaping chapter and our landscaping standards the staff would recommend we look at. In addition to that, staff would like to require and do code amendments pertaining to site planning. The standards and chapters currently drafted are, how do I say this kindly, discoordinated. And so recognizing the need for clarity and process, we need to get some clarity in the code. And so there is going to be a decent amount of what I may call housekeeping amendments that would be identified. With that said, beyond the knowledge of short-term rentals and the interest in that, has the commission had discussions prior to my arrival outside of the comp plan updates and policies and the zoning changes that will come with that on topics, concerns, or projects that you would like us to consider or request the council to consider?
Well, do you still have the spreadsheet that we put together of topics that we felt were important? I know short-term rentals has been on Commissioner Carter's mind for a long time, and I don't think he's alone. I think there's a lot. I mean, I think the commission is really interested in starting to create some language around that, especially when we have things that could come up that would really create a hot button in that area. Am I off base at all? Okay.
One of the things that I hear people talk about has to do with, this relates probably to landscaping a little bit, but resiliency and climate change. But are we going to attend to, that's a whole new chapter in the comprehensive plan now. So I'm assuming we're going to take some kind of deep dive in that eventually, aside from the ordinance itself.
Depending on the final policies adopted in the comp plan later next year, I do anticipate the comp plan to have a very large list of tasks that we will be taking up for a few years after.
Okay. Anything else the commission would like to add, work on, talk about?
Go for it, Jeff. We're asking you. Eileen?
Get ahead of Jeff. That's quite a task. So I was really glad to hear that you know about housing. I think housing is, affordable housing, and we've come up with a definition and all of that, but we really have not organized our thoughts about how to help with that, or do nothing. Is there anything we can do, or should we be the supportive group for contractors and housing developers, or we really don't know where to start, and it's a huge topic. And but it sure would be nice if we could get something done. Whatever, I don't know, whatever that would be, but a piece of it is the short-term rentals. I think a big part of that is finding out the impact of how many short-term rentals we have. What, are they displacing people that need affordable housing? Those kinds of questions. And then maybe we can figure out what to do. So.
Yeah, I know there's quite a few that are operating that are not in compliance. So within the city limits. So Emily just sent me what was on that spreadsheet that we had. And so short-term rentals is on there, which we just discussed, rules and procedures, which we've already resolved that. No?
No, we were going to adopt the new, well, not new now, but at the time, the new rules of procedure, formerly known as bylaws. But then there were things that were conflicting with Chapter 236 of the code. So the code needs to be updated. So we are, staff is working on updating that. Then once the rules of procedure can mirror the code, then we can officially get those adopted.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. So still in progress. The mobile home park moratorium, we did take care of that. Interim control ordinance, we took care of that. And then we have park models, RV parks, and tiny homes. The Planning Commission toolbox, comprehensive planning, which we're working on for the commission's benefit, coming soon. Oh, that must have been your notes. Okay. And then RV park protection, similar to mobile home park moratorium. So that's what we have on our to-do list that we had requested be put on there, or those items.
And was that for the 2024 work plan?
It was well, we had a lot of things on our agenda that were just kind of hanging out on our agenda. And some of them, like short-term rentals, had been on our agenda for literally a solid, probably 2 or 3 years. And so, and what happened is we would have members of the public that would come in and want to provide comment because they'd see the agenda and assume that we were going to be working on that. And then, we, we had nothing. It was just an agenda item that had been there for a long time. And so we decided, but we didn't want these items to just be taken off and gone by the wayside. We wanted them to be on a list that we could, work, and that it would still be relevant. And so we created like a spreadsheet to kind of hold those items till we could work on them.
Okay. In my observation of the conversation earlier about short-term rentals, it really sounded like maybe the desire is getting into the research and data gathering at this point, because I don't hear a tone in directive and ban short-term rentals, allow short-term rentals, but maybe just a question mark of we should probably get clear on short-term rentals.
Yeah, and I know Commissioner Carter wanted to say something. I think the biggest thing for me with short-term rentals is that we just don't have any language at all. You know, we have very little. And I think that you know, it's kind of a complex issue.
Mhm.
And, you know, housing is such a concern, you know, by us, but also the community. You know, people are really passionate about housing, and a piece of that is short-term rentals. And I think that we should just have more guidelines and more language regarding to, you know, how we, you know,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Larry. And then Jeff, if you still had something. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have to start with the data.
Mhm.
Short-term rentals do take housing stock. If we find out we have hundreds of units or tens of units, it makes a difference, right? I live in an association that specifically prohibits short-term rentals by the homeowners association. And I think what we're seeing nationwide, not just in Clallam County, is to address the issue of a lack of housing stock. I think I shared with the commission when I first came on, there are cities who are addressing it through different tax structures too. And so I think we do have to start with the data. I have a passion for providing housing for people, not hospitality units. And I think that's where, and that's just my opinion. But unless you come out and say there's only 10, Larry, then it's not a big deal. But if we find out there's hundreds of housing units that are off the market because, well, I just rented out during the summer season and then it sits vacant all winter and they're not available for workforce, then I think we can start to address the issue a little better. So that's just my, I guess I want to put my passion for, I do have a concern and an urgency.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, did you have something?
Yeah, two things. First, when Julianne was describing how we tracked topics, we did that because a annual work plan was one of those topics at one time, but there was enough resistance to it that we just made up our own way of doing it. So an annual work plan, I think, for most of us would be welcome. And then, yeah, on the VRBO Airbnb thing, I mean, it's good to get a handle on that, or at least maybe not even a handle, just start the conversation, because that's one that also was very resistant conversationally. And it applies currently because the development that's being looked at next to John Wayne Marina, that's done by a company that has one on the coast right now, and it's that one. I'm not saying this one's going to be the same way, but the one that's on the coast is primarily VRBO Airbnb development. That's what it is. It's 70%, 75%. So we need to just air it out.
And I'd like to keep in mind that in the city of Sequim, that property is designated as a resort community, not single families. So that would not be removing the planning capacity for single family homes.
I understand that, but we're going to get questions on that. And some of them may be charged questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if it, I mean, I understand that it's a resort community, but if it's going to have, and I'm just throwing this number out here, let's say 300 VRBOs, that is going to affect what we have that is, within zoning that is not resort properties. And so it will be something that is going to be on the public's mind. And I just don't want to be in a position where, we have this really supercharged issue and we just don't have any kind of language for it, or we're not even working on it. I kind of want to get the horse before the cart, if that makes sense, just to start gathering information and data and, putting together bullet points and looking at how we might or might not proceed.
I do want to inform you that any work on short-term rentals would not stop the cart of Harbortown. And just be very clear that the work that I'm discussing about future code amendments, that is already vested into the approach that they're taking.
Okay. Yeah,
so
that's
this
yeah,
would not I don't, and I'm speaking for the community that may be listening too. I don't want them to think that this potential topic for the 2025 work program would stop that project.
Right. No, I understand that. And yes, for the general public.
Or the majority of that project being vacation rentals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I understand. I think that this is something that we are going to inevitably have to tackle regardless of any interest in any projects right now. And I just don't want to be in a position where we haven't even started the conversation, if that makes sense. Because there's not a lot of language on it's very broad. And I mean, I know that I know people that have ADUs that are clearly using them for short-term rentals within the city limits.
Right. So as someone who worked in a very large resort community, Lincoln City, I am very familiar with the broad breadth of different regulations and requirements that short-term rental companies and property owners can be required. So I'm grateful to be able to be here and assist Sequim in some of those considerations as you move forward. I just want to, I think that the question for 2025 work program after our comp plan, are we looking at having research data gathering, or are you looking at requesting code amendments from City Council too?
Okay.
Because there's a capacity, as we saw how long the manufactured mobile home parks, there's a capacity on how much work you guys can do in 4 months after 8 months of comp plan work.
I mean, I feel like the data gathering is necessary, first. I mean, that has to be in my mind, that would be the logical first step. Anybody please step in if you feel differently or.
I agree. We don't know how many there are. And I think if we are gathering the data and say plans will be developed off of that data, I think that gets the community to understand we hear you, we're addressing it, but we can't put something out until we know the numbers, right?
Okay.
And I think the other thing that we might want to consider You can't stop me from renting my home out. The city can't.
Correct. State law allows single room rentals.
And so I think maybe we need some clarity about what we can do and what we can't do as we're gathering. And I'm just looking at you because you've gathered the data before and you've been through
Hey,
this
new
drill
guy.
before. And that was very contentious. It was a little contentious on the other side of town, right? There was initiative and everything. So I think what we owe the community is to gather the data and to commit to addressing the issue as we can within the city limits. And I think that gets us past the community concern. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we have quite a treasure in both having you, Lindsay, as well as Ethan, who have been up to your eyeballs, I guess, in the subject. And just from looking at headlines in the PDN and the first paragraphs, it looks like there's a lot of steps and missteps, and then that generates more controversy and heated emotions back and forth in PA. And perhaps we can learn how to avoid it, or do a case study of PA and maybe Port Townsend, and see if we can get some wisdom from them so we don't fall into the same traps or pitfalls.
Thank you,
Thank
Alex.
you.
Good point.
Okay.
Okay, so
I have one question. Are we a tree city or not?
I do not know the answer to that.
A tree city anymore. Somebody told me we're not a tree city anymore.
That would be in our comp. Yeah.
We're working hard to keep that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The working hard part is the
Yeah.
ceremony once a year to plant a tree in Pioneer Park. Okay.
Well, and other things, that's one of the initiatives.
Okay. All right. So we are a tree city.
We are.
Okay.
We are. I just confirmed it.
I think we are, and we're committed to continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Well City, just saying.
Isn't there a level of bicycleness we are? Isn't that levels of stuff?
It depends what association you know.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah.
Okay. That's all good.
Okay. So I think I have enough to move forward with preparing, and you'll also see a draft work plan in front of you for guys to maybe have to pick a few things off of it because of workload capacity. So that will be coming to you at your next meeting.
Thank you. That I really appreciate that. Having a plan, like Jeff was saying, it really gives us some direction, and
Yeah.
we've been asking for it, so I'm glad that it's going to happen.
I do think I promised it to you at my very first planning commission meeting on my second day too. So maybe. With that, the last item on the agenda tonight is I do need to bring attention to Commission, as we did it today, Commissioner Jeff, Commissioner Larry, and Commissioner Alex. Your terms do expire at the first meeting in January of next year. We do have an application for the volunteer forms. I believe the city is required to advertise the upcoming vacancies. And Emily, did Heather say when she was going to advertise those?
No, but I can talk. I had a brief conversation with her. She said, sooner rather than later.
Okay. So as soon as we advertise those, we will send those to you directly. And with 3 commissioners coming up based upon the conversation we just had, I hope I'm keeping you entertained and you guys want to continue forward. But we will need a form for state law and just recording purposes. So we will send the email to those three of you once they get published. And so you have a few weeks to determine your future. We do appreciate your continued dedication to the city of Sequim and hope you would reconsider or consider another term. That concludes the director's report tonight. I was the one keeping you low.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order? No? Okay. That brings us to our last item, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Meeting is adjourned at 6:31 p.m.